In the movie Saving Private Ryan, 8 soldiers during World War II are given a mission to go behind enemy lines and rescue one man, Private Ryan. They accept this mission to begin the search for him. As the movie progresses, some of the men in the squadron think it is pointless to save the life of one individual. When their commanding officer hears this, he immediately stops, turns to the company and says, "It is our duty as soldiers to rescue this man." You see, they could have done many things at this point. They could have turned back. They could have said, "You know what, I don't even know this guy and he doesn't know me. Why should I risk my life for a man I don't even know?" But they didn't do this. They kept going until they found him. These men were courageous. These men were will-driven, but most importantly, these men were relentless. If you look at the definition of relentless, it says steady and persistent, unremitting. In other words, relentless means you do not stop no matter the circumstances. When I hear these words, I think of a group of men in the Bible similar to these soldiers in this movie. These men are the 12 disciples. You see, when they were with Jesus, they saw the love of God just pouring out of him. You see this in Luke 17 when Jesus touches and cleanses the lepers. In John 8 when Jesus shows mercy to the prostitute. And in John 11 when Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. When the disciples saw all of these miraculous signs and wonders, something changed inside of them. They acquired a hunger for the lost. Jesus says it the best in Mark 16:15. Go into all the world and preach the good news to everyone. And that's exactly what these men did. They went all over the world showing the love of Christ to ordinary people like you and me. But unfortunately, because of their faith in Jesus, some of these men were crucified. Some were beheaded. James was killed by the sword. Thomas was speared and burned alive. Matthias was stoned. James the Lesser was thrown down the temple steps and beaten to death by a club. And the Apostle John, he was put into a pot of boiling oil and cooked alive. You may be thinking to yourself, wow, these are horrible ways to die. I would never want to die like that. Yes, these are horrible ways to die, but you have to realize something today, church, that this didn't matter to them. Did you hear what I just said? I said this didn't matter to them. Even in the face of death, these men didn't stop preaching the gospel. These men were relentless. It says in Luke 15:4, if a man has 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to search for the one that is lost until he finds it? I was at Youth Convention 2011, exactly a year today, and I heard a story that radically changed my life. You see, it was about an ordinary high school student who one day went to their locker and found something on the ground. A note. She picked it up and began to read it. Within an instant, she realized something, that this note was no ordinary note, but a suicide note. As she reached the bottom, she saw a name signed, a name she's never seen before in her whole entire life. Right then and there, her mission was clear. She had to find this girl. She began to run up and down the hallways of her school, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Have you seen this girl? Have you seen this girl? Has anybody seen this girl?" Going up to random teachers and students she didn't even know, saying, "Come on, you have to help me out. Have you seen this girl? Has anybody seen this girl?" She eventually finds her and sits down to talk with her. She says, "Hey, I go to a youth group and I think it would be pretty awesome if you came." She does. And within a couple months, the girl who was about to take her own life receives Christ for the first time. But the question is today, would you do this for someone? Would you do this for the drug addict in your school? For the girl who sleeps around? For the kid who cuts himself at night because he wants to feel alive? Because you see, there's a generation out there crying out to you, "Help me, save me, I can't take it anymore." Would you save Private Ryan? Would you be like the disciples and even in the face of death preach the gospel? Would you run up and down the hallways of your school screaming, "Have you seen this girl?" or "Have you seen this guy?" to save the life of one individual? Would you? Would you? But the real question is today, church, will you be relentless after the one?